That kid's my father. He's gonna have me on sword soon. Good morning, Gears. I don't know why I thought I was going to set this down successfully. I feel like every time I start one of these videos, I start with me not being sure how to talk and consume coffee at the same time. So, pardon the silence. We are back with episode 4, I believe, and I get to use my new Lambent skin. And my arms armrests on my chairs are all messed up. Finally get to use the new Lambent skin. Everyone was so like, so I had no idea that they were coming out, and then I saw some people streaming with the Lambent skin, specifically Shadow, and he was using that one, the one Plot on Point was using, and it looked super cool. I definitely wanted it. And then I saw everybody getting in like an uproar about the way that they were going to do the charging for those, like where you could buy specific skins that you wanted, but it cost real life money, and people were upset that it cost real life money and that they couldn't use their coins. And I didn't understand. I don't understand that concept of like why people get so upset. Holy lag. Why people get so upset over things like that? Because it's like you are choosing to buy a cosmetic item for the game. Nobody's forcing you to buy the cosmetic item. So why is it something that people get upset about and like take to Twitter? It's just confusing to me, you know? Like it's one of those things where it's like it's not logical, I guess. So okay, our team just got cooked, so I'm gonna wait here. Predictable, easy reads. There was one more over here, but I don't know where he went. Sideline this kid. He got the shot off before I thought he would. I was gonna try to slide out wide to the wall. But either way, you know, discussion of the Lambent skins aside in the community, you know, they're out and they're super cool. Like, I really like the skin. It feels a little clunky. I don't know if it's just because I haven't played in a while or if the skin actually feels this clunky, but because it would be weird to me that a skin would feel oh, there's two here. That's a problem. See if I can get out with my life. Okay, well, I did. I don't know how I survived that. That gets so hurt. Oh my goodness, what is happening? Okay, well, I knew I was gonna die, but we win the round. Yeah, so I'll be honest with you guys, going into this episode, I didn't really have many talking points. Usually I have like some idea. I don't write them down or anything, but usually I have some like ideas of talking points that I kind of want to chat about. But for this one, I don't know, I just got on and started recording. I was like, well, I'm awake, it's the morning. I got my coffee, let's go ahead and record one. That way I have it ready for next week. And I think one of the things that I kind of wanted to chat about was the current like Rostermania that's going on within Gears of War. We're seeing a lot of the top teams that aren't OpTic and Echo Fox really make changes that I don't think everybody understands, and it's definitely changing the dynamic of the scene right now. Especially for like us in terms of like getting scrims, because you know we want to have quality scrims as much as possible. We want to be able to like have good practice, you know, as any team would. And it's difficult when there are so few like quote unquote top teams left, because they're all making some sort of change. I got bricked. Holy God, that kid just hit shots. So it's really kind of shitty, actually. I mean, you've got United, who's now kind of disbanded. The three of Lava, Pell, and Crash have stuck together, and now they're scrimming with Soto and Vital Sam, who are formerly of I don't know what team. Oh, what? I missed. That kid's my father. He's gonna have me on sword soon. So you've got like that roster who we're scrimming them tonight for the first time. So I don't know if that's like official roster or if they're just doing like kind of tryouts, or I don't know what the plan is for that. But and then you've got Rezik, who originally got dropped or left the team because, and that was a long time coming. Like I completely understand Rezik getting cut. I support that decision, really. I feel like he was kind of detrimental towards their growth. Not that he's a bad player, it's just that his attitude did not mix at all with the attitudes of the others on the team, and you can't really have that in like a working environment, you know. So you know, they got rid of Rezik, and then they got their you know, like situation with Shock, Lava, Pell, and oh, please don't down me. I want the kill. No, fuck. You died for my sins, but you stole my kill, so got Lancered. They had that situation, right? Where just like that team wasn't working out, and then they got Rezik dropped, and then now Shock is like, he announced he was a free agent. He was like announced like, we're a team before looking for an org and one, or I'm a free agent, and that didn't make sense to me. And now it's Shock is like trying out for Ghost, but Rezik already went to Ghost to replace God Plays. Well, Ribs kind of replaced God Plays, and then Rezik went to Ghost because Rushies is like benched or something. It's just a really confusing situation. So like Ghost is like doing like tryouts and not quite sure what their roster is. United's left the scene as an org, and we'll talk more on that. And the old United roster is now kind of putting their pieces back together to figure out what they're doing. So it's just such a weird situation. And then, you know, there's still Rise, but Rise hasn't been playing that well as of like late. Like they've struggled against Nimbus. Of course, Nimbus, you got to give them like the respect they deserve, because Nimbus just beat Echo Fox in the league match that they had on whatever day that was, which was, I mean, they played pretty well. It was rough for them on Forge. Like there was so many choked moments that like they could have capitalized on. It was just like amateur mistakes. And then the next two maps, they looked much stronger as a team. So it was definitely great to see like the potential that young team has, as not really a new roster. I mean, they did make some changes, but more as like a young talent roster, if that makes sense. Like the players aren't like veterans or pros. They aren't like retired from other teams. It's oh no, these kids are ridiculous, man. They're trying too hard. So it's great to see Nimbus do well in that regard. But either way, Rise is losing to Nimbus. Echo Fox won't scrim us, so like that takes them out of the running. So really, there's not like, there's OpTic Mexico, Rise, United, Ghost, and well, whatever you call Lava's roster with Pell. Like I'm gonna call them United out of habit, but it's not like they're actually united. And that's kind of like the extent of the pool of teams that we can scrim. There's not a whole lot else. I mean, we would probably scrim Nimbus, but it's just more, it would be more recently that we would start scrimming them, just because of how they've been showing up lately. They might be worth like spending some time against. So it's just kind of a weird spot, and I don't want to say the game is dying, but I did say on stream last night that like one of the issues is the game itself is getting better and better in terms of like the competitive scene, but you've got less content. You've got less content for people, so they're not like there's not as much to consume. Like you're not going to retain players because there's not much new going on. My sensitivities are all messed up. No, they're not. They're perfectly normal what I usually have them on. I was lost. Oh, there's 2 snipers. I missed. It's kind of causing problems, right? Because you've got teams like us who like we're running out of like talent to scrim against, and then there's all the talk of like the AM scene dying and like all the problems there with like, oh no, we're gonna lose. What? Where'd that shot go? All the problems there with like just people saying that AM teams aren't taking it serious, the complaints of the AM team saying that they're not given opportunities or chances, which as of last video I uploaded the challenge, I haven't gotten any VODs. Last night, Friday night, I streamed me just jumping around streams and critiquing teams that were scrimming on stream, like streaming their scrims. But like I think that people like to complain, but they don't like to put in the work that supports their claims when they complain. I don't know. It's weird. So let's talk about, unfortunately, a lot of the things are not like good news. But let's talk about the fact that United as an org left the scene. And a lot of people are saying that like that's horrible for the scene and tragic, and it is. I mean, United's a great org. I really like the guys who run United. Dan or Clerky and Burns are awesome people. Some of my favorite people that I've ever worked with or you know become friends with in esports. They're just really respectable, honorable, level-headed guys, and they do an amazing job of taking care of like their own. You know what I mean? So it's really great to every chance that I get to chat with them and work with them, and that's why to me it's really sad that they are no longer in Gears. I know that they took care of their teams. I mean, they were the original ones who really like kind of set the bar in terms of what Gears teams should get paid, you know, as a minimum for salary. They came in and they were paying their team more than everybody else, because they wanted to support their players. They wanted their players to be able to make this like a career, which was maybe a little bit too soon and too high, but it still was great for the scene itself in the long run. And obviously the salaries have like fluctuated and inflated a little bit since then, but it was still something good for the scene. So yeah, seeing them depart, I mean, I can't blame them in a way, because like you think about like what their experience was in Gears, and it's like, okay, well that you can kind of see it, right? Because their first team was a team with like Icy, Demo Bounce, Dispensa, Clout, or yeah, Rodney. I don't remember who else was on the team, which is like a good roster, but like you've got the guy who's notorious for like roster changes and like just constantly shifting the rosters in the scene. And then you've got after the first shift of rosters, you've got, you know, Excels on the roster. Excels is a great player, but I mean, he had his issues when he was competing in Gears. and now they got like banned for an entire year. So like they've never really had like that roster of like just solid good guys. I can't remember every iteration of the roster, but after that, you know, not long after that, they had their roster that included the current lineup of Rezik and Shock, who were constantly battling each other and causing, I would say, all kinds of issues because of their attitudes just clashing. So it's a really unfortunate, kind of like the fact that it's a 4v5 in this game. It's really unfortunate that United had so many bad experiences, and I think that really turned them off to the Gears of War as a whole. You know, if they had gotten a team like us, or, which I'm not saying like we would have left OpTic, but like if they had found a team with like similar mindsets and personalities as ours, and ours aren't perfect by any means, but that would have been way more successful for them than what they have been with this entire time. So I hope that they make a re-entrance into the scene. I would love for them to like come back and pick up a roster like Nimbus and support just those young guns, and build a story around those guys. That would be something I could see working really well. I mean, they already do something kind of similar for Call of Duty, where they have the roster of S&D like all-stars. So it's not something that I would think totally be opposed to. It just has to make sense. And we don't know what like Nimbus's contracts are, or how much they cost, things like that. Like, I don't know any of the details of that team other than they're causing upsets, and I think he got sniped, yeah. Other than they're causing upsets, and it would be fun. It would be a great roster for them to kind of re-enter with, that's talented and hungry and like fresh. Now, in terms of affecting the scene itself, obviously it's the loss of one of the more reputable orgs in Gears of War. You know, so the top orgs that we have are obviously OpTic Gaming, Echo Fox, OpTic Gaming a second time, United when we had them, Rise. I would say Ghost is up there, even though Ghost isn't. Ghost has kind of made themselves into a like org like that. So Ghost is definitely up there, and then it starts to kind of, unless I'm forgetting any, I think TGC has been hopping around in Gears, but then it starts to kind of go down to like more like beginner orgs, I would say, or maybe beginner's not the right word, but just younger orgs, where they're not maybe like as big of fan bases or as big of much experience as the large like AAA style orgs. So it'll be interesting to see how the loss of United, who I would count as one of those large orgs, especially I think that they're kind of like Ghost, except they started early. They're one of those orgs that really built themselves up super quick and made themselves reputable with a solid Call of Duty team, a solid Gears of War team. They had their League of Legends Challenger team for a while, before like the way LCS franchising worked and shifted, and you know, all the other games. I don't actually know what all other games that they're in. So I think that they are definitely easily considered one of the like top orgs that was in the scene. Look at all the skins in this game. People are complaining about it. It's crazy. So I think it's a loss for Gears for sure. Like not only like am I sad because I like the United guys, but it's a loss for Gears. Now will that affect the scene? I don't think it'll affect the scene as much as I saw people on Twitter thinking it would. Because if you think about it, like you've still got a roster that consists of Lava, Pell, Soto, Vital Sam, and Crash. So like a champion, a young gun who's super talented, and Crash, who's like not a young gun but kind of seasoned, super talented. Soto, a champion in his own right when he played with Envy, and Vital Sam, who's kind of a not an uppercomer because he's been around, but a young gun. they're easily marketable to a team, especially if they start clicking together well and kind of reclaim that top 4 spot, I guess, in the standings. I think that's a team that could easily go to an org like Luminosity or FaZe, or I don't know, any. They could almost get any org that they wanted, in my opinion, assuming that they knew how to like talk to orgs and kind of market themselves right. So it'll be interesting to see where they do end up. Assuming that team sticks together, it'll be super interesting to see where they end up. Like I said, I would love to see them in an org like that. I would love to see them in FaZe and have that like OpTic FaZe rivalry in Gears, or see Envy re-enter the scene so we can bring back that rivalry. I think there's a lot of opportunities for them, especially with how many orgs are picking up like investors. So they have a little bit more money, and Gears isn't the most expensive game to participate in as an org, because you're really just paying for salaries. I mean, sponsors typically pay for equipment. Most teams don't have their Gears players in a house or apartments like OpTic does. We're kind of like the one-off in that regard, where we pay for housing. So, and then tournament travel, assuming your team is a top like 8 team, which is pretty easy to maintain for a roster like that roster, you're pretty much always going to have your travel paid for every single event, which means there's no travel expenses or costs to send them to a tournament. I don't know how that worked out, but it did. Sucks that their guy quit, but these kids were trying too hard. So I mean, that's kind of my thoughts on it. I think that team can bring in another big org. I think they could bring in United if they tried. I know United, like, they loved their time with Gears, but it was kind of like bittersweet. So we'll see what happens in the future. I think it's a hit to Gears, but I think it's a recoverable hit. But anyways, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode of Good Morning Gears. You enjoyed your cup of coffee, as I haven't drank enough of mine. And hopefully you have a good rest of your day. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and watching. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button, the like button, so I know you liked the video. Let me know in the comments if there's any topics you want me to talk about next episode. I always read the comments, and every single one, both unfortunately and thankfully. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, all that cool stuff, and I will see you all in the next video.